Today's been a really weird day for me because from the moment I woke up, I've been receiving immigration related posts. For example, one of the things that was sent to me was a meme about people trying to get indefinite leave to remain in the UK over the past few years, only to then have the goalpost shifted to make it way more difficult to get indefinite leave to remain. So, for example, you would have had to wait 5 years to become a UK citizen. Now it might end up being 10 years. And then you have to meet various other criteria, like have you been contributing to your community? Have you maintained a state of employment? You shouldn't have claimed any benefits while you've been working towards your indefinite leave to remain. You should not have a criminal record, and so on and so on. And then I also got a video showing the king of Kubala and the handmaiden being removed by immigration officers for being suspected to have overstayed in the UK. I don't know the details of all that, whether they have overstayed or not, but I guess there was enough evidence for them to be removed. Um, and then I think about how, since leaving home, I've been an immigrant in two countries. You know, first of all, in the UK, where it took me 10 years to become a citizen. And then here in the States, where it took me 5 years to be eligible for citizenship. And then I became a citizen after 6 years. And again, you have to jump through all these hoops to become a citizen. Apart from the passport, which makes it easier to move around the world when you have a British passport or an American passport, if you're living in a country and contributing, paying taxes, and you know, a lot of tax, we pay a lot of tax. And it's not just a financial tax, it's a tax on life itself. Yes, it's a choice to leave your home country and go and live somewhere else. But when you come to another country and you work and contribute of yourself, um, you're looking after sick people, doing jobs that other people would not want to do, whether it's people from your own country or people in that country. I know that in the UK, nursing, when I was there, was a job that um, was mainly done by foreigners because British people, for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, because it's hard. Nursing in the UK is hard. You're not paid very well. You work extra hard. You're not treated well. You're not respect. It's not a respected profession. So British people, when I was there, did not want to be nurses. Very few British people were in nursing compared to foreigners. So you're giving of yourself. You're looking after mainly British elderly people because it's an aging population. That's a tax on yourself. It's a tax on your health because there's a lot of manual handling involved. And then the emotional tax, of the abuse that you suffer in that job, where you're very, very underappreciated for what you're doing. And, you know, again, some people will say, well, you're choosing to be in that profession. So you should take whatever comes with it. I disagree with that entirely. All jobs matter, which is what I love about the US. Um, all jobs matter here. That is why I chose to live here. And that's why when I became an American citizen, it was with a sense of pride because of the mindset that American people have. There isn't a job here that people look down on. I've worked with young people who will say, when they were like, I worked with someone who was telling me that when he was 14, he had a job where he would be paid $20 to shovel excrement, human excrement. This is a 14-year-old. He wanted a bit of extra money. He said he didn't come from a family with a lot of money, and he wanted a bit of extra money to get things that he needed or wanted or whatever. And he wasn't too proud to go and shovel human excrement. It was some kind of, I can't remember where it was, but there was a requirement to shovel human excrement, and he did it. Whereas if I was to think of any British children that I knew when I lived in the UK, I can't think of a single 14-year-old who would have thought, oh, yeah, I'll go and shovel some shit to get $20. And that's not $20 an hour, $20 for the whole job. Um, so I've gone off on a tangent, but really I wanted to talk about the significance of immigration and your immigration status and how you are treated, and how the government can just decide at any point to move that goalpost and say, well, you were almost there, but we're going to move the goalpost again. And you've given so much financially, you've paid tax. So, yes, you have contributed to that country financially. Secondly, you've given labor. You know, if they didn't need you, if they didn't need labor with their aging population, they wouldn't be letting you in. Like I was talking about in one of my videos, when they let people in, uh, or allow people to stay with, um, sort of incomplete paperwork, I think sometimes it's intentional, where they know that, look, we have a labor need, we have needs, we need people to look after our elderly people. So we're just going to take our time processing these papers, because in the meantime, those nursing homes need staff. In the meantime, hospitals need nurses. In the meantime, people who are old and unwell at home need carers going in. And then they turn around and say, oh, but we're going to move the goalpost, make it a lot harder for you to be able to stay here. That's just a kick in the face, I think. And they get to do that because they can. And it's a little bit annoying, because anyone who comes from an African country or an Asian country will know that British people also come to our countries. And as far as I'm aware, they don't have to jump through as many hoops to come into our countries and exploit in the way that they do, whether it's exploitation in the mining industry, which is the most common, I think, or exploitation in the sense that they get to live a very comfortable life in our countries, a life way more comfortable, for way less money than they would ever have lived if they had stayed in their countries. Why aren't our countries making them jump through the same hoops that we are made to jump through when we go to their countries? Um, yeah, it's really, really disheartening. It's very, very disheartening. I think the application of these rules in terms of moving goalposts for being able to enter a country, moving goalposts for being able to operate in a country, or even settle in a country, should be applied equally. If they treat people who've come to contribute in that way, where somebody's been working as a nurse or a carer or whatever it is, whatever labor needs that they have, and they just decide willy-nilly, because it suits them politically, to move the goalposts, um, our countries should respond equally. You know, African countries should respond equally. They should respond in the same way and say, yeah, we are also going to move the goalposts for you. We're going to make it harder for you to come in. We're going to make it harder for you to settle in our country. Um, I think it's only fair enough. Well, that's my morning rant, I guess. Um, yeah, that is my morning rant for today. Truly, truly disappointed with that news about the UK moving the goalpost for people to settle there. Um, I don't think that they suddenly have enough staff. They suddenly have enough labor in the healthcare sector to where they can say, yeah, we're going to move the goalpost now. It's going to be 10 years. And also, in addition to that, you have to meet this criteria, that criteria, that criteria. If anything, they should be allowing people to come in and settle immediately. If I look at when I came to the States, I came in as a permanent resident. So they recognized that they had a need, they have a need for labor in the healthcare sector. So you can come in as a skilled worker in the healthcare sector, settled with a green card, with permanent residency. And then within 5 years, you get to become a citizen. You get to participate fully in society, vote, speak your mind, exercise your freedom of speech. I have earned the right to exercise freedom of speech over the last 6 years that I've lived here, and I'm going to exercise it. Funny enough, when I went for my citizenship ceremony, that's one of the things that the guy who was the immigration officer, I think, I can't remember what his title was, but basically, he worked for the immigration service, and he was explaining what it means to become an American citizen. And one of the things that he emphasized was now you get to exercise your freedom of speech. And the interesting thing about this ceremony is that all the immigration officers that were there were people that had become American citizens um, after having come from other countries like Brazil, Mexico. I can't remember the other nation. I think there was a Nigerian. So there wasn't a single immigration officer who was not someone that had come from another country. So that was very significant for me. The judge who swore us in as American citizens, he was a white American. And interestingly, he became very emotional and cried. It was his first time officiating a citizenship ceremony. And he became very, very emotional. He cried and he asked all of us, and there were many of us, he asked all of us to take a picture with him um, because of the significance of that day for him. Um, and, if you live amongst American born Americans, as in people um, whose families have been here for many generations, everyone here is an immigrant anyway, because they all came from somewhere. But I guess I'm talking about American born Americans as opposed to naturalized Americans. The sense of pride that they have in being American citizens is very, very deep. It runs very deep. It means something very important to them. And so he explained that he felt emotional because to him, for us to choose to become American citizens meant a lot to him because of the love that he has for his country. Because it meant to him that, wow, you've lived here for however long you've lived here, and you still chose to join us and be identified as Americans. I thought that was a beautiful thing to say. Um, and I got it. I understood it. I didn't feel emotional. I'm not sure why I didn't feel emotional, but it is important to me to be a citizen here because this is where I live right now. So it was an interesting day watching the judge become emotional and then having someone say it to you, the immigration officer, tell you very plainly and say, now you get to exercise your freedom of speech. And me being someone who's always been outspoken and someone who doesn't think twice before talking, that was very important and very significant for me. Being able to vote is something that is very important to me because I left Zimbabwe aged 18, so I had never had the opportunity to vote. And I've spent all my adulthood outside of Zimbabwe. In the UK, I was able to vote, which was great, um, even before I became a citizen, because you could vote um, for, I think, local elections, if I remember correctly, without being a citizen. But here in America, you can only vote if you're a citizen. So that is a right that I plan on exercising um, because I live here. The politics, yes, you can ignore politics and get on with your life, just like many people in many countries that have turmoil do. They recognize that politics will carry on no matter what you do, and they will live their lives and find ways to work around the politics. But somehow it's important for me to express my views and my preference and pick a side. I think that's important to me, and I'm glad that I'm now able to do that. I'm now able to pick a side and put my vote towards that side, whether it makes a difference or not. It is important to be able to pick a side. I've earned it. I've earned that right in the time that I've been here. I'm not even sure what I'm going on and on about, but anyway, yeah, immigration, it's something else.